What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell along with my co-host Glenn Martin and a new friend and guest on the show, Brad Ward, a writer from USA Today Browns Wire and the host and producer of the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. Brad, how are you doing tonight?
I'm excellent, gentlemen. Recovering from turkey hangover and, good to be with you guys. I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Man. I would say the same for us. We're definitely recovering from the food intake from yesterday, and so we're coming out of a food coma and looking forward to talking about this game and of course looking forward to this Sunday night, man.
No doubt, man. Cannot wait for Sunday night. Big one. Should be fun.
Yeah, big one. It feels odd that we're this far into the season and this is the Ravens' second AFC North matchup. I mean, the schedule makers didn't necessarily do the Ravens many favors here, especially heading into the stretch where they go Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cleveland in 3 weeks. But this big one, this is a big one in my opinion, because if there's any one that you hope the Ravens, as Ravens fans, that they take, it's going to be this one, since it's the home game and it's the first of the, this treacherous 3 in a row. But I got to start at the top here. We got to talk Baker Mayfield. What is the current injury status for Baker, and what if he does play? What percentage of Baker are we getting?
Who knows, man? So, I was a big proponent before the Lions game. I was kind of banging the table to sit him down before that game. You have a $9 million backup in Case Keenum, who got you a win on a Thursday night game against a Denver team that's a lot better than the Lions are. It's not so much the shoulder, like he had adjusted to the shoulder. The shoulder's not going to get any better, right? It's a torn labrum. It doesn't get any better until you have surgery. It's not going to get better, right? If the swelling's under control, you're cool. You can deal with it, right? I guess you could do. It's going to affect the way he throws, right? Because he's a smaller guy and he uses his whole body to throw. If you've ever thrown, it takes your front shoulder, right? So it affects the way he throws. But if he adjusts, it seems as though he adjusted to it in the Bengals game. But the foot and then the knee bone bruise on the heel and then the bone bruise on the knee and now a groin post-Detroit, which is added. You're talking, he was barely moving around on the field at the end of the Detroit game. And, my hope was that get him some rest for the Sunday night game, right? I felt like Keenum could have won that game. He played very poorly. His mechanics were all out of sorts. He missed a bunch of open throws. So I think that was a mistake. I'm a big Stefanski fan and advocate, but I think he made a mistake there. I think they went in, guys, thinking it's the Lions. Maybe he can get right on the Lions and ride that momentum into the Ravens, because he looked so bad against the Patriots too. And it kind of backfired on him because he didn't look good at all and he got dinged up more. So I kind of wish they would have gone with Keenum there.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
A quick follow-up, Jimmy, if you don't mind. So is he gaining favor from the fans by showing all this toughness and playing through this? Or is he – because I heard he was also yelling at he talked about the fans that booed him as well.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of booing your quarterback, it's him necessarily, but he was not playing well, and you're going to have idiots that boo. Like, you need to understand that as a quarterback in the NFL. Like, that's going to happen. And don't take it personally, but that's who Baker is. We know that's who he is. He takes everything personally. So, whatever. He's like, oh, those are the people that something. I don't even know what he said. It was an idiot. He should have not taken it as personally. He didn't even speak after the game. He spoke the day after. And he was like, I don't owe you guys anything. I owe my teammates that explanation. I get that. That's cool. Whatever. I'm not mad at Baker for his reaction after the game. I just wish he would have played better. He played like crap. He played terrible. He looked awful out there, and it doesn't give you much confidence going into Sunday night. Which I think a week of rest would have given you some confidence going into Sunday night. Hey, at least he had some time to get right mentally, physically, before this massive game on Sunday Night Football, right? Instead, you're coming off of another really poor performance. So I don't know if I answered your question there.
No, I mean, I was just, it's just interesting because I think some fans would probably, appreciate the tough. I mean, there's no doubt the guy is showing incredible toughness, but you can't at the same time criticize your fans.
Here's the thing, right? With the toughness, he's a tough son of a bitch, right? Am I allowed to say that on the show? I don't know.
Yeah, you're fine.
All right.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so
Jimmy's mom might not be thrilled, but you'd be good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's a tough guy, but that only gets you so much favor. I mean, at some point you might be hurting the team by being out on the field. And that's where somebody needs to draw a line and say, who gives us the best chance to win? I trust that they're sitting there in practice and he's performing and they're saying, oh, he still gives us the best chance to win. Okay, that's fine. If that's the case, then I can live and die with it. But I've heard enough of he's so tough. He's okay, great. We know how tough he is. Now complete a pass.
I totally get it. I mean, and that was one of my questions. I was interested to know how the fans are were reacting to his comments about being booed and stuff like that. But really, I feel like a lot of your feelings embody how the fans are feeling. I mean, So the other thing I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered this as well, but I want to get some clarity here. Two-part question. Are there any people that just want to say, shut it down and put Case in there? Like you said, they got a $9 million. You guys got a $9 million backup. And are there people that want to see Case maybe for a few weeks until Baker comes back? Is there any rumblings for Case Keenum to get out there and give him a chance now that Baker's so beat up?
I think that people were advocating for that a couple weeks ago, but I think at this point you kind of hope that he's just a gamer and he can go out there. I think they were okay with that in some other games, but not against Baltimore. I think they want Baker out there against Baltimore. As beat up as he is, you kind of just hope that he's a gamer and he goes out there and plays well.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I don't think people want that anymore. I think a couple weeks ago they were kind of there were advocates to shut him down for a couple weeks.
Gotcha.
I don't think anybody's ready to shut him down for the season.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they got too much ahead of them. I mean, I think that, unless you're asking Jimmy, I think most people believe that Baker is the better option than Case Keenum.
Yeah, I get more nervous. when Case Keenum comes in the game.
Yeah, of course, because you can't stand Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
But that's the bias. But let me ask you about some other guys. From what I'm understanding, it sounds like the backfield will be whole again. We will see Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's official, I think yesterday or today, either way, they reiterated it today. And it's not just Kareem Hunt, which is huge, because he's a major part of the pass game as well. Mm-hmm. But you also get Jack Conklin back. So your offensive line will be whole for the first time in some weeks, probably since week 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's scary because in my opinion, when we talked about the team's preseason, I said this is the best offensive line in football, and really it's hard to find a weakness on paper when this team is healthy. It's hard to point at a weakness anywhere on this roster. I mean, I was having trouble, especially when they seemingly answered, in the draft, their issues at linebacker with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I think is how you say it, but
Owosu, yeah. Okay. Owosu, yeah. You're close.
So you did good, Glenn.
Very close.
Yeah, this wasn't horrible, but I thought that was really their biggest weakness with the disappointment from Mack Wilson, and then they seemingly filled that. So, what as far as a health standpoint, we know Conklin's back. That's a worrisome thing for Ravens fans. You talk about an All-Pro right tackle. Kareem Hunt's back. Is there anyone else Ravens fans should be worried that's getting back at it this week?
Donovan Peoples-Jones, it looks like, well, he's questionable right now, but I would think that he's likely to play. I think he was closer than people think last week. I was looking here. He was a DNP on Wednesday and limited on Thursday. So maybe he's not as close as I think. He has a groin injury that he's nursing, but he would be huge for the Browns because without him, they don't really have a deep threat or a one-on-one. Like, I'm going to be like, Jarvis is great, but he's not going to take you deep, right? He's a slot guy. And he's banged up. So, Donovan Peoples-Jones is their best opportunity to get somebody one-on-one and beat them deep, probably. Anthony Schwartz will not play. He's their other speed guy. He's in concussion protocol. So he's the only one ruled out right now. But I think as far as big, if he plays or not, Donovan Peoples-Jones is a big one because Brown's best chance to win in the secondary is him.
Well, for sure, I'm really concerned about Kareem Hunt coming back because I'm sure the Browns are aware that the Ravens struggle. To me, they seem to struggle this year against a pass catching back. When they get a guy out in space, the screen game, and things like that. So that's certainly something I'm concerned about. But Brad, I gotta what's the word? Veer off course here for a second because I need you to confirm something as a Browns fan yourself and a source of truth. And knowledge when it comes to the Browns. I saw some pictures of Nick Chubb in high school.
Yeah.
Can you confirm whether or not is this really Nick Chubb running track in high school? This looks unfair to me.
It does look unfair.
Look how big he is compared to
Look at how high he's jumping in this top image. He's literally at this guy's head. They're on the starting blocks.
I can't confirm whether those are real or fake. I've never seen those images before, but sure. Yeah, I mean, I will tell you this much: he runs away from safeties and DBs in the secondary at his size.
Oh my gosh, he's one of the scariest backs in the NFL to me, and just an incredible athlete.
Those are some absurd pictures.
Right? Well, yeah, just all you gotta do is go on Google, type Nick Chubb track.
Yeah,
and that's it, man. It's just incredible. But I'm not looking forward to having to play against Nick Chubb. I get nervous, sweats every time we line up against them for sure. But you talked about the O-line getting healthy, and with Conklin coming back, they've been good on paper. However, they have given up some sacks this year.
They have.
Do you attribute more of that to Baker trying to do his best impression of like a Russell Wilson holding onto the ball too long, or is it just a lack of health and consistency and time together?
Yeah, I put a lot of it on Baker and a little bit on some teams finding a way to scheme up some ways to get some pressure against the right side of that line more than often. But every once in a while a real good pass rusher will beat one-on-one and it happens. But this O-line is better in the run game than they are the pass. I will give you that. Their pass pro is pretty good, but not as good as they are in the run. However, I would say that Baker is at fault a lot of times because for whatever reason, guys, like his eyes, he's lost trust in what he sees, right? So you watch the regular game and you're like, throw the ball. You're screaming it like he gets to the top of his drop and you just want him, you're like, and you're like, throw it. Throw it. Like, he just won't throw it sometimes. And then you go to the All-22 2 days later, right? And there's guys running butt naked wide open all over the secondary, and he's still not throwing him the ball. So you wonder why he won't throw the ball. And that's been my biggest issue is, like, what is he seeing out there? Like, when Odell's dad posted that video on Twitter, I was like, I've seen this all season. I don't need to see his dad post it. I've been watching this every week. Yes, there's guys wide open in the secondary. He's not throwing them ball. I don't know why. So either, a lot of people are like, oh, the coach is making... No, I just don't think he trusts his eyes or he's seeing them well or he doesn't trust his arm because of the shoulder or whatever. But it's all been since he hurt his shoulder, right? He had one really good game in Cincinnati. For whatever reason, he plays great in Cincinnati no matter what condition he's in. And then, he played really well in Cincinnati. They blew out the Bengals. And then he's played 2 poor games since then against the Patriots and then again against the Lions. So, to me, it's on Baker. He holds the ball too long. And if it's not there, if he goes through his reads and it's not there, know that your legs are not 100% and get rid of the ball. Throw it at somebody's feet or get rid of it. But he always tries to, even though he still can't move at all, he's still going to try to, get out of there. And he always gets sacked, whatever, So he needs to get rid of the ball more. Like the Baker that we saw the last 10 weeks last year is a stark contrast, guys. And I know you're not like a Baker believer, but he was getting to the top of his drop and throwing into tight windows. And that's the gunslinger Baker I know and love. And I haven't seen him since week 2 this year.
Yeah, it's definitely been a tough year for Baker. But I want to talk more about the defensive side because you want to talk about scary. I mean, is anyone scarier than Myles Garrett? I mean, can you point at someone in the entire league that is scarier than Myles Garrett? And then, when you got Jadeveon Clowney across from him, it certainly makes things complicated on how you can help on Myles Garrett. Now, I'll say, Jadeveon, I guess, isn't the pass rusher that Myles Garrett is, but who is? He's still a number. You're talking about 2 number 1 overall picks. How do the Ravens go about trying to slow down this pass rush duo, Brad?
You know what's interesting about the Ravens is I think that Lamar kind of naturally does it a little bit because a lot of what they do is speed rush to the outside, right? And you really can't do that against Lamar because he'll just gash you right through that hole all day long, right? So he kind of slows down the outside pass rush, except for maybe against the Dolphins and a weird
Don't remind
game.
us, Brad.
I just watched a video on like 34 cover 0 blitzes and all that stuff. Anyways, but either way, I think that they kind of contain that and force that pressure inside, right? Like you have to contain Lamar. You can't just run past him like Myles usually does with his speed rush. So just Lamar's speed in itself kind of contains him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then staying on the defensive side, the Browns have they're definitely supposed to have a strong secondary. You got names back there: Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, John Johnson, Del Pitt, which I've been excited about some of the things I've seen from Del Pitt. As excited as I can be as a Ravens fan, of course. But that group has 10 turnovers for the season. Is that a concern? Are they underperforming? How do you feel about that secondary so far this season?
I love the secondary. Listen, I love all these guys. I think I blame Joe Woods more than anything, the Browns defensive coordinator. Honestly, they have not. He doesn't make enough changes, right? Like he's like, this is who we are. This is our defense. We run a lot of cover 3 Seattle, cover 3 Seattle press bail. We run a lot of cover 4. We run a lot of quarters, and that's who we are. And they don't run very much man to man at all, and they're like, we're going to keep everything in front of us, and we're going to make teams, go on 10, 12 play drives down the field and hope they make a mistake or hope Myles Garrett gets home or whatever, right, during that drive. And it drives you crazy as a fan, right, because the patient quarterbacks, it's there all day, the dink, the dunk, that you can beat the Browns that way. And the one game this year, he really changed like what he did for one game. It was against the Bengals. He left his corners in one-on-one against Jamar Chase. They didn't double him at all, and they played great. They basically shut him down. And I don't know what he plans against the Ravens. It was very vanilla last week against the Lions, I think on purpose. If he had anything up his sleeve, it'll probably be he'll run a lot of the dime, 3 safeties on the field. JOK was basically a draft pick for the Ravens, right? You bring in a speed linebacker like Owosu Koromoa basically to try to counteract what Lamar Jackson does to you. If you recall the Monday night game, the shootout, right? Last time they played each other, Lamar Jackson did whatever he wanted in the zone read game. The Browns had no answer for his running ability. So you would hope that they have something schemed up with Owosu Koromoa, and I think they'll have 3 safeties on the field. So I think they'll be really light in the box, really light in that 4-2-5 look. I like the secondary. To answer your question about, I like the secondary, but Joe Woods is just not let them be aggressive enough, in my opinion. He kind of just makes them play the zone and take what's there and tries to keep them disciplined. I wish he would empower them more to play downhill and more aggressive. I think the Browns would have more turnovers. I think they're also due probably a little positive regression to the mean there too on the turnovers. They've had some bad breaks that way too.
Yeah, you can certainly. Sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way, no doubt about it. But Brad, what do you say? When you look at this Ravens team going into this game specifically, when you think about the injuries that have hit the Ravens and Lamar Jackson coming off the illness that kept him out of the game, what scares you most about the Ravens heading into this particular matchup?
Lamar, he scares me the most. Just the run game does. The zone read and Lamar's ability just to dice up your defense himself and then make immaculate individual plays, right? Immaculate individual plays that'll beat a defense. Like, I don't expect the Browns to go out there and get diced up by the Ravens pass game, but he will make that one immaculate play that results in a 70-yard touchdown that you really can't do anything about, right? He scrambles around and then throws an absolute dart to somebody, right? Right on the money. Like, he just makes plays like that. That scares me. That scares me the most. Honestly, if I'm frankly honest, I've watched a lot of the Ravens games. There have been times they really have not played that well. Their offensive line looked terrible last year. They've had so many close games. Like, I'm like, oh my God. These close games, they keep finding a way to win. Last week, the Lions, I can name a bunch of them, right? I'm like, man, how do they keep finding a way to win these close games? I don't really think, like, going into this game, either team is playing particularly well, to be honest.
Right.
No, I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things I noticed is I was just reading some stats on the Browns, and they haven't been pushing the ball downfield as of late. And if I'm not mistaken, I feel like in Stefanski's offense, there's a decent amount of pushing the ball down the field. And correct me if I'm wrong, I just feel like I remember the Vikings, and seeing some big plays there, and then even last year and things like that. Is that just due to Baker's injury, or is there something else that's causing that change in play call?
I think the play calls are there. I just don't think I don't think he's throwing it down there. The last time he hit a long pass play, I would think it was the Bengals game. He hit Donovan Peoples-Jones for like a 60-yarder. It was a really good throw. He had pressure on him, and he hit him. Since then, they really haven't stretched the field at all, partially because Donovan Peoples-Jones has been out, right? So there goes the one threat. Anthony Schwartz, your other speed guy, has been out, concussion. So you don't really have the personnel to stretch the field with Odell gone. And then if you did, you would want to do it with like Njoku down the seams, right? And once again, Baker has just been hesitant to really take those shots down the field. You're absolutely right. It is part of the offense. It's part of the play action, right? That play action leads you to that deep 7-step drop off of play action, the real elongated play action, right? That leads to those deep throws that you see Minnesota do so often with Cousins, and you'll even see from San Francisco to Deebo Samuel and stuff. And it hasn't been there the past 2 weeks at all. So now they've played terrible the past 2 weeks in general. So I would hope that Baker is prepared to let it go a little bit this week, but it's been a struggle all year, guys. So
yeah,
and it looks like they found a head coach in Stefanski, right? I mean, you win Coach of the Year, it looks pretty obvious. But Jimmy touched on his days in Minnesota, and I remember his receivers weren't happy then. I remember Diggs throwing a temper tantrum and forcing his way out into Buffalo. And now, the issues with Odell, and even some rumblings from Jarvis Landry when he said that they just don't throw me the ball anymore. Do you think this is something that Stefanski's system is just not made for guys to get a ton of targets, and that this is just something that if you're a receiver in Cleveland, you're going to have to get used to?
I don't think so. A little bit with Odell. Like, Odell's expectations of what he was going to be in this offense, let's be honest, it never really worked with him. And it was probably a bit of a blow to go out last year and then watch your team play so much better without you. Mm-hmm. And then, this year you come back and once again everything starts to stall and everything's out of rhythm. And when you do have opportunities on fourth downs and big downs and late in games, you dropped them. It just wasn't a great thing, right? Jarvis generally, with the Browns, has had over 1,000 yards last year and the year before. So maybe not last year, 2 years ago. He had his best career year with the Browns, right? So I guess that wasn't with Stefanski, it was Kitchens. But I certainly think there's a place for a star wide receiver in this offense. I mean, you see what Minnesota does now. Justin Jefferson and Thielen are both able to eat pretty well there. I don't think it's necessarily the offense. I just think they need somebody to fit in the offense. I really do think Donovan Peoples-Jones can be that guy in the future. I think he could be a 1 for the Browns and have 1,000-yard seasons. I think the ability to do that is there. I just think that this year has really been a struggle in the pass game. And the Browns didn't expect that, right? You expected coming in to get the Baker that ended last year. You expected to get Odell back and the pass and the run to marry and this to be a really powerful offense. And it just hasn't happened.
Yeah, well, certainly we can understand that because we've gone from being, Lamar being so run heavy and that being a given, where right now our rank is good from a run game perspective. It's really a facade in comparison to the way that we ran the ball the past few years, where now it's just a Lamar show at this point. But he's passing so well. So we're waiting for this ever fleeting balance of those two things, right? Just like you're talking about. We're waiting for the same thing to those two things to combine themselves here in Baltimore. But if you had to identify, from a macro perspective, going into this game, you're on the phone with your buddy and your buddy says, hey, what's one thing the Browns have to do offensively and one thing the Browns have to do defensively to come out of M&T Bank Stadium with a victory? Where does your mind go?
So defensively, I would say you have to keep Lamar under 50 yards rushing, something like that. I don't, even if Devontae Freeman or whatever, even if he gets off a little bit, I think if you can just contain Lamar a little bit, we can deal with giving up 7, 10 here or there, but just don't give up the 25-yard run, every 3 plays to Lamar like we saw last Monday night, right? It was ridiculous. He was just running all over the field until he had to, bounce out for a little bit, and that's really when the Browns got back in the game. So, on offense, I would say it's a kitchen sink game for the Browns. Okay, really, at the worst, you need a split here. And you really, the schedule makers, this quirk in the schedule, and I did a show I've been talking about this quirk in the schedule all year, right? They really did the Browns a favor here. When you get ready for the Ravens, it's like a college team getting ready for Army or Navy. It's completely different than getting ready for any other team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Well, when you take those, if you sprinkle the 2 games through the 16-game schedule, that makes it really difficult. Well, when you put them all together and you only have to get ready one time with a bye week in between, that's a huge favor to the Browns, right? Mm-hmm. Preparation-wise, adjustment-wise, it's an indictment on your coaching staff if you can't come back and win that second game. Come on. You have a bye week and they have to go play.
The Steelers.
The Steelers. You should really find a way to win that second game no matter what at home. So that brings us to the Sunday night game, and I think it's a real opportunity for the Browns to say, if they could just find a way to win, the quirk in the schedule allows you to kind of really turn things around despite all the struggles. So offensively, I would want to get creative with Kareem Hunt. I think you'll see a trick play. I think you'll see a lot of creativity from Stefanski. I think you see a lot of screens early, wide receiver screen, tight end screen. They do a lot of that misdirection stuff from 13 personnel to get some easy completions for Baker that result in positive net yardage, right? Get his confidence up and then try to go from there. But I think you really have to just, you're going to have to win in the run game. And if I was the Ravens, I would be putting 8, 9, creeping in the box and daring Baker Mayfield to throw on me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Peoples-Jones is not healthy, then I think that's
even more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough ask because Jarvis is going to have Marlon on him, and then it's pretty much going to go daring anyone else to beat him. But we got to get your prediction, Brad. We talked about what might happen, what could happen, but in your opinion, what does happen on Sunday night?
Yeah, so I have 31-24 Ravens on Sunday night. Kind of a high-scoring game. I think that the Ravens win by a touchdown in this one. So that's kind of where I'm at with things. I think they find a way to do it. Just kind of, it's another exciting up-and-down game. Probably slows down a little bit in the fourth quarter, in my opinion. And I think the Ravens, win by a touchdown. I think it'll be a close game, though. Maybe they get a touchdown with 5 minutes left and then a stop on defense or something to end the game. That's kind of I've seen that movie too many times, guys. So
we understand. Yeah. We appreciate you coming on, Brad. It was an absolute blast. Why don't you let the folks know where they can find you? And of course, while you do that, I want to put up on the screen the landing page for your channel and just mention that I'm sure you can be found on other platforms, but if any of you folks are watching, are NFL fans or Browns fans, of course, make sure to go sub to All Eyes on Cleveland. I watched a little bit of this stuff, and it's good. Brad's got some
clearly knows his stuff, no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Oh. So make sure to go check that out. But Brad, where else, other than subbing to the show, where else can they find the stuff you're either writing, your audio, or more, videos and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at Ward on Sports, WARD on Sports, and then the podcast is All Eyes on Cle at All Eyes on Cle. And then you can actually go to www.alleyesoncleveland.com, which is the home of really the website. You can get the audio for the home of the website, the home of the podcast. You can get the audio for the podcast anywhere popular podcasts are found: Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever, wherever. It's everywhere. And then also, as you just so kindly showed on YouTube here. So we're getting up there close to 2,000 subscribers.
There you go.
So we're going to try to do that, get that done. So working our way up there and on that. And that's just under a year old, the YouTube page. So nice. We're trying to get that done. And then USA Today's sports media groups, thebrownswire.com is where I write. And and I think you guys have some other Wire guys on, huh?
Oh yeah,
absolutely,
quite a few, and they've all delivered, no doubt about that. So thanks again for coming on with us, Brad, and hopefully
you guys are great.
Well, thanks, and hopefully we can reconnect in a couple weeks, as we know the Browns will be focused on no one but the Ravens for a month, and we'll see how that goes.
3 straight weeks of Ravens, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we'll be diving into old games and everything. So on my channel. So yeah, I'd be happy to come back on. It'd be a blast. We can revisit all the things I said that made me look like an idiot in this game.
That's usually how it goes, man. We appreciate it, Brad. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Good night, guys.